Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos, hosts of Live with Kelly and Mark, aren't afraid to express their affection for one another. Kelly didn't even blush when she talked about her man becoming naked. However, as Kelly discloses her startling injuries, Mark becomes a touch feisty on air. Kelly Ripa was experiencing some discomfort. To help viewers prepare for Thanksgiving, Kelly Ripa made a batch of buttery mashed potatoes on the Monday, November 25 broadcast of Live with Kelly and Mark. She was able to start a dispute over sides, though. She stepped on some toes along the road, even though she was being cautious with the established preferences. However, she explained on Tuesday's show why dressing and stuffing are called different things. But she hadn't been as watchful during the weekend. Kelly was unfortunately hurt, and Mark Consuelos brought it up for conversation. Mark Consuelos identifies Kelly Ripa's injury as noticeable. Mark Consuelos draws attention to the fact that Live host Kelly Ripa is having trouble moving on Monday morning, November 25. Kelly says she threw out her neck over the weekend as she turns gingerly to approach Mark. Mark calmly says, "Your neck is the Achilles heel of your body," expressing sympathy for his wife. He continues, "It goes out." Kelly, however, makes a joke about how her neck doesn't go out often. "When something's wrong with you, it's always your neck," Mark says, oversimplifying. Kelly admits that "I did it to myself, to be clear." Mark responds with relief, "I'm glad I wasn't involved." Kelly Ripa discusses her startling injury in detail additionally. Kelly Ripa of Live explains that although Mark Consuelos wasn't at blame, the injury wasn't your typical one. According to her, it wasn't like an old age thing, where you throw out your neck when you sneeze or when you hang up your coat, she says. Kelly instead accuses Michael Gelman of pulling it off in an odd manner. Saying, "I was doing Pilates, Gelman," she takes aim at him. Gelman is to fault for this. He is well known for sharing his rigorous training regimens with the program. In response to the audience's laughter, Mark shrugs and says, "Don't blame the Pilates." The description of Kelly Ripa turns Mark Consuelos. She goes on to describe performing a somewhat advanced motion that was unfamiliar to her. She uses her arms and minimal neck movement to mimic the action as best she can. "It's an ab exercise," she explains. Then, she explains, "You roll your feet back, bring your legs down slowly, and your arms are down." The motions are joined by Mark Consuelos. Her reference to the long spine movement is directed at Michael Gelman. "I was doing that, and I guess I threw my legs over with too much ferocity, and I almost flipped all the way back off the machine," Kelly Ripa continues. Mark Consuelos was relieved that he wasn't responsible for the injuries at first, but he soon wished he was. He was prepared to attempt it again with his wife after learning about her movements. "Now that I think about it, I wish I was involved in that." Mark Consuelos added, "The manner in which you are explaining this action. I find this maneuver fascinating. This weekend, I'd like to do short spine." "Short spine is great, but long spine is hard," she replies. "And because I have a personality trait that makes me believe I'm an expert right away after doing something once, I did it with too much passion." "You have to be careful with the pilates," Mark jokes. If there's one thing fans love about Live with Kelly and Mark, it's that you never quite know what's going to happen between co-hosts Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos. Their marriage, equal parts playful banter, affectionate teasing, and occasional oversharing, has provided some of the most memorable moments in daytime television. But Tuesday's episode took an unexpectedly hilarious turn when Kelly revealed an odd mishap that left her husband Mark, well, a little too enthusiastic. Kelly's surprising admission. The moment unfolded during the host chat segment, where Kelly and Mark usually dish on personal stories before introducing the day's guest. Kelly, looking radiant in a fitted teal dress, leaned into the desk and sighed dramatically. "You know, I suffered a shocking injury over the weekend," she began, already smirking as the audience leaned in. Mark perked up instantly. "Oh, you're going to tell this story?" "Oh boy," he said, rubbing his hands together. Kelly nodded. "Yes, because people need to know that sometimes marriage is full of surprises." I was bending down to grab something from under the sink, and long story short, I pulled something in my back. It was not graceful. I screamed like a banshee. The audience chuckled, but Mark's reaction was what truly set the tone. Mark's unexpected response. Instead of rushing to his wife's aid, Mark admitted he had a very different reaction to Kelly's painful moment. "I'm not proud of this," he said, grinning mischievously. But instead of being worried, my first thought was, wow, that was kind of hot. The audience erupted in laughter, clapping, and hooting. Kelly widened her eyes in mock outrage. "Hot," she exclaimed. "I was writhing on the floor like a wounded animal, and you're telling me you were turned on." Mark shrugged unapologetically. "I can't explain it. Something about you being dramatic, all bent over and vulnerable. It just did something to me." Kelly threw her hands up. "This is why we can't have nice things. I'm not here pulling muscles, and my husband is basically writing fan fiction in his head." The audience loses it. The studio audience was howling, some doubling over in their seats as Kelly fanned herself dramatically. Mark, clearly relishing the attention, leaned closer to her. "In my defense," he said, "you're very attractive when you're angry, and you were furious with that cleaning supply bottle." Kelly laughed so hard she nearly spilled her coffee. "Ladies and gentlemen, my husband finds my pain sexy. This is my life." Fans react online. As soon as the segment aired, social media lit up with reactions. Clips of the moment spread across TikTok and Twitter with captions like, "Mark Consuelos admitting he was turned on by Kelly Ripa's injury is the most on-brand marriage thing ever." Kelly Ripa could stub her toe and Mark would write a romance novel about it. Protect these two at all costs. They're keeping daytime TV spicy. One fan even joked, "New Hallmark plot. Woman pulls back muscle. Husband discovers it's his ultimate turn-on." Kelly doubles down. Later in the episode, Kelly circled back to the story while chatting with guest Scarlett Johansson. "You know," she told Scarlett, "I thought my injury was going to get me sympathy. Instead, it turned into Mark's weird kink reveal on live television." Scarlett laughed, shaking her head. "Honestly, that's kind of sweet. Most people complain when their partner gets injured. At least Mark was supportive." Kelly quipped, "Supportive is not the word I'd use. Distracted, maybe. Delighted, definitely." Mark, sitting beside them, raised his eyebrows and deadpanned, "Hey, I'm just keeping the marriage interesting." Behind-the-scenes banter. According to sources at the show, the producers were doubled over laughing in the control room. "It was pure gold," one insider said. "They love when Kelly and Mark go off script like that because it's so genuine. It's like watching your fun married friends argue at brunch." Another staff member added, "The best part was Kelly's face. She looked horrified and flattered at the same time. That's their whole dynamic." The couple's history of oversharing. This isn't the first time Kelly and Mark's marital banter has gone viral. Over the years, they've discussed everything from Mark's jealousy streak to Kelly's unconventional skincare routines. But fans agree that Tuesday's injury confession ranks among their funniest stories yet. One viewer commented online, "Every time I think Kelly and Mark can't top their last overshare, they prove me wrong. Injuries as foreplay. Iconic." The aftermath at home, Kelly revealed that after the show, their kids, Michael, Lola, and Joaquin, texted her in embarrassment. "They basically begged me to stop letting Dad talk about these things on live TV," she said, laughing. "But that's just who we are. We overshare. And now the whole world knows that Mark is turned on by my injuries. Merry Christmas, kids." Mark, unfazed, told viewers, "What can I say? At least we're honest. That's the key to a long marriage." Kelly groaned, but then squeezed his hand. "He's ridiculous, but he's mine." Why fans love it. Relationship experts have even weighed in on why Kelly and Mark's playful honesty resonates so much with audiences. One psychologist explained, "They're relatable because they don't pretend to be perfect. They bicker, they overshare, they admit to bizarre things, but always with humor and affection. People see their own relationships reflected back, just with more laughter. And laughter, it seems, is exactly what viewers needed. Clips of the segment trended for hours, cementing it as one of life's most memorable moments of the year. Final word. Kelly Ripa may have suffered a shocking injury, but Mark Consuelos managed to turn it into a comedic and strangely romantic moment that had fans in stitches. Their marriage continues to be a masterclass in balancing humor, honesty, and a little bit of chaos. As Kelly quipped at the end of the show, "If you ever wonder how we've stayed married for nearly 3 decades, the answer is simple. I hurt myself and Mark thinks it's sexy. That's our secret." The audience cheered. Mark blew a kiss toward his wife, and Kelly just shook her head, smiling all the while. Because in the world of Live with Kelly and Mark, even an injury can become entertainment gold.